Hi, this is my weekly review. I'm Tones. Let's go through all the trades that I took this week, full transparency. I had a great start of the week, some good execution. I respected everything that I worked on over the past 2 weeks, fixed the mistakes I was doing, and I ended the week with a few mistakes. This is a great week to review in my opinion, so let's get into it. So the February low been taken here on Ethereum and here on Bitcoin a little bit later at the end of last week. You can see and check in the past, but usually when we break a low like this, either we keep going and dropping through it, or we sort of have a retrace and then we end up going way lower than that low anyway, and it just doesn't turn as just a sweep. Here on Bitcoin, see this low here, we just ended up breaking through it, retesting and continuation. This low here, same, we had a little retrace and continuation. That's probably what we're doing now. We've been in that phase, we did that sweep, and this little retrace for me continuation, and this is what I forced on the market this week. We might get this push a little bit higher before we get continuation. It's not a given. We might form just a sweep and keep retracing, but for now, my idea is that we're going to get continuation lower. This had all the sign actually, where you had 2-level retrace, that information. We had those drops, and from that M and retest, was trying to get that short lower. And this is something I usually refrain to, trying to get the higher time frame. But I did this week, so I did a couple mistakes on that way. Trying to get the higher time frame, and just keep going at it, trying again and again, and realized too late that the market wasn't going to drop lower. But same thing here on Ethereum. I was trying to get in here. I tried to get in here. Then we had CPI. This for me was my W, a bit of a slow grind here over the weekend. Rise level 1, rise level 2, and had a clean retest of the 50 EMA for rise level 3. This was a nice sweep, end of Asia, retest of the EMA, reclaim, entry here, start of UK, and price did nothing for my first 2 hours. It seems like since I worked out that I was closing my trades too early, I always get ranging price action on all the trades I've taken, so a bit tested there. I still respected my 2-hour mark. I've let price move higher, and when we had weakness and not really that push that I wanted in UK, I raised my stop loss to this low. Should have been under this one, but raised it to this one. Got very lucky here. Didn't stop me out. And right before the extension, where I do not want to be involved really in market anymore, I raised my stop to this low here and got stopped out almost a break even. We ended up not going anywhere from that point anyway, so not mad about it. It's not like US, this is sleeping for me. I wake up around this point, so, and honestly, we were still retesting the 50. I probably would have not closed that trade and still have it break even, and would have been closed at break even anyway. There was a good trade Tuesday in UK that I refrained to take because it was before CPI, but like I said, we had all our levels. This was the information for me. Same here. It took a bit longer than what I wanted, but we still had one over this whole period. Break of the 50, run to the 200. And I would have liked a retest of the 50 here, a bit better on Ethereum, but we did retested that supply pretty well and created that top. On Bitcoin was a little bit better, like better supply. Nice rounded top start of UK. The only thing that I saw is that we were sort of creating a triangle on both assets. That sort of just got me worried that we're going to keep going lower, especially being above the 50 on both. Did not take that short, was really tempted. It worked out really good on Bitcoin. Not as much on Ethereum, but still a really good trade back to those demand areas. Great trade, missed. It wasn't super high quality, and I was just being careful before the CPI. So we ended up dropping on both assets. So I realized we getting a sell-off before CPI. On Ethereum, we have this low that gets retested here twice, and then you take all these people out. Just tap that supply, tap it well here on Bitcoin. Here is 8 o'clock for me in the morning, is the CME open. So entered this trade here, was the retest of the 200. So 50 EMA on the 1 hour, 200 EMA on the 15 minute. Great entry for continuation lower. I stay in this trade. we move lower. At first, we respect those trap traders on Ethereum. Sort of similar on Bitcoin here. We don't even revisit that zone. I stay open through that Asia extension because we are all the way here. And as I see price moving up sharply here in UK, I move my stop to break even. Got lucky again, didn't get stopped. Price moved down. And from here on, it was just before CPI. I saw this W and I thought it might be a trap. I thought about closing. At this point, my trade was a 1.5 all profit. I should have, because being in drawdown, any green, any profit is good to try to get slowly out of this drawdown, especially 1.5 all profit is not negligible. But because my idea of continuation lower was so strong, I decided we'll run the risk and just be break even. So it's almost no risk, but run the risk of giving this unrealized profit back. I get stopped out and I go to bed right after and I let US do its thing. And the next day when I wake up, so Thursday, I'm back to work. So not going to be able to trade. But what I noticed on Ethereum is that we stopped everybody out with CPI. We actually took this high that I don't really like when price doesn't tap into a supply zone and just test it shy. When we take this high and retest this zone, actually, we create this M, which for me is after 3 levels, however you want to count it, you have this M reset and continuation lower. We're holding the 50 EMA here. End of US, not a trading window. I would usually open a trade, but because I was not going to be able really to manage any trade or enter any trade at work, I decided to enter here when I woke up. My stop was here above all the EMAs, above the Asia highs, which was a clean invalidation for me. And then I've let that trade play out and I wasn't able to manage anything. The thing that I missed is here on Bitcoin, we created that W. This is the last demand before this massive push up for CPI. The first one failed to hold, but the second one is exactly where we held. We created that W into the dead gap zone. Ethereum was actually better because we swept the Asia lows. We swept the Tuesday low. Nice W, holding just before the Asia gap. And Asia gap was a nice trade to enter here. If you would have entered sharply, just right in the gap, you stop us there. There was quite a nice trade to take back to the supply, 2.3 all trade. But yeah, just get stopped out on this one for a full all loss. Thursday at this point, my idea on the higher time frame of going lower was sort of starting to be weak here with this bounce when I just wanted to bleed down and take the lower liquidity on both assets. But I still had the potential of a higher time frame M forming. Honestly, on the 5-minute, I had 1, 2, 3 rise level. Same on Bitcoin, 1, 2, 3. This one swept all this liquidity here. You have a first sweep where people would enter short, and then when you get the sweep of the sweep here, that's sort of confirmation that really everybody got trapped. We held those trap traders here this week on Bitcoin for this whole time. We actually, when I entered my trade, closed below the Asia highs. And on Ethereum, we broke the Asia highs, closed back below. A bit of an aggressive trade, but this is just the Asia range trade. Usually a trade I really take if I get a clean M after my levels. This wasn't the cleanest M. In my backtesting of my trades, the mistakes I did is to listen a bit more to my intuition. My intuition here was especially that after all these levels, we were going to retrace to 50% of Asia or 50% of previous day, which we did. We just ended up stopping everyone by the UK extension before US made the move to my target. Then let's go to Friday, where I did all the mistakes I worked on recently that I repeated on Friday. Friday is usually a bad day to trade. I've had good trades there. This first entry made sense on Ethereum. But yeah, you get a lot of range price action and traps. I have to work out if I really have to ditch the Friday again in my trading or not. But here on the 15 minutes, I had what you could call 2 rise level as a retrace, in my opinion. If you look on Bitcoin and you have this W here at the bottom, it was actually 3 rise level. At the time, Bitcoin had trap traders of that 200 EMA and was ranging. On Ethereum, we had the high and dead gap zone, and after 3 levels, I anticipated what I call the Janet setup because I learned this setup from a girl called Janet, my previous community. And then you have Asia creating a lower high again after those 3 levels. We had the high same on Bitcoin in US, the lower high on that gap zone, and because this is my work day and I can't really trade, I was there at the time because I had an alarm at my CME open to see what was happening. I saw this setup, I anticipated the setup because I was able to enter a trade at this time, but probably not at Asia Open. The lower high happens on Ethereum. I put my 2 hour mark. I have an alert after 2 hours or to check my trade. And my trade didn't do anything on Ethereum. And Bitcoin actually broke that lower high that we had in that gap zone and was moving higher, sort of creating a W here. And I exited that trade at break even to protect myself and because I was at work. On the minute that I closed that trade, price dumped, and I looked at my phone a little bit after and we were already here dumping. I realized that this was still valid. Bitcoin was actually retracing and still rejecting those trap traders. I re-entered this trade. This is trades at work that you should not do on your phone. And because I'm not sitting at my laptop, I don't have clear mind and judgment. I think I had an alert on this high here because I really didn't want it to be broken. Look at my phone, see price retracing hard. Same here on Bitcoin, retracing when I thought I had my M and we were going to break that 50 EMA. We hold the 50 EMA, we move higher. Then I closed that second trade that I entered at a half the risk. And then that's where I got burned after work. Realized this is still an M. We actually have a nice evening star with 2 candles here in the middle. In the extension, same, not a trading window I placed trade at. So accumulated all the mistakes in this area and decided to re-enter the trade with still my stop loss here. As we move lower just before the gap, I add to my trade. Let me clean that stuff. So we got 2 equal highs. This one did a little sweep, but I still lower my stop loss a bit higher here, this one. Because I lower my stop loss, my risk on this trade is less, so I add here, so my risk is still of the same size. And what I failed to realize, I actually did realize it, but I wanted a retest of that 50 EMA and of that supply here first to keep going bearish. And what we did is we broke through and we held it. And you're going to see here on the 5 minute, there was a nice trade here to the upside to Asia highs. There's actually even a better one here on Bitcoin from here, which was almost Asia lows to Asia highs. I saw this trade, but because I was in my short, I disregarded it. I honestly should have closed my short here and go long. So this is a mistake. So I faded this long, and then in UK, I get the sweep of those highs that I expected. My stop loss is safe. And I end up on this retrace, added again to this trade, and then I went to bed. And when I added, this was everything my drawdown, so it was 1.5 R risk, everything I had left on the account, and I end up being stopped out here and breached my account. So there you have it, that 200k account has been breached. I didn't manage to get wins again. I really hitting a bad period of trading. Because I'm still in that situation where I can't manage to get good wins, that 200k valuation is quite expensive. So I dropped down and I took a 50k account. So this one's brand new. Hopefully start fresh, get some wins again. I really want to hit that trading I was having last year again. It's been about 7 to 8 months now of struggle, and it seems like struggle street is a one long lane with no exits. The past 2 weeks, I went back through my data in the video that I did last week, and it made me more confident in my entries and following more my intuition because it paid to be right. I had to fix absolutely the mistakes that I did again on Friday of closing trades too early. So I've been really good this week on holding those trades and letting them play out, letting them hit my stop loss if it has to hit my stop loss. I really felt the progress this week. I just ended up on Friday making mistakes again. And this is the thing with trading. You're going to do mistakes again and again until you can really get rid of all of them. The biggest one that I did in the past already is that forcing an idea and sort of trying to play the higher time frame. I'm way better at trading within the session, just small moves. I actually have to go back through that 5-minute trade on Friday. So this trade was a really good trade that I could have taken because it's how I like to trade within the sessions, regardless of the higher time frame. You actually have that really nice accumulation, manipulation, distribution pattern. And here, this supply that created the move down gets ran through, retested, breaker block on both asset. You get a nice W here on ETH. On Bitcoin is a bit less obvious, but that trade here, man, it's just good. Reclaim of Asia lows, target Asia highs, or even just the high of previous day here. Beautiful trade here on Bitcoin. This was nice. I saw it, but this is what you can get sometimes. You get biased because you're already in a trade. I should have closed my short, entered this long. Eh, you know, woulda, shoulda, coulda. New account. There's a good thing about prop firms is that when you get a new account, even if it's not the best way, you still have that sort of refresh and new motivation coming in. Because you start from zero again, and from one trade you can be in profit again. It's been tough, I won't lie, but all I see it's all learning, it's all positive for the future. I'm refining everything to a T, and when the market's gonna give me those nice opportunity and I'm gonna be able to capitalize on it, it's all gonna be benefits. Like I say on my description on X, smooth seas never made good sailors. You only learn and get better through the hard times and the struggles. It's exactly what I've been going through for the last 8 months. Apart from that, see you next week, hopefully with better trading. We'll really try to nail that 1 or 2 trades per week that I should take. There was five trades this week. It's a bit too much, in my opinion. But, I was trying. See you guys.